All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give our praises, glory, and honors to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua Ba'Shem Kakodash. Double honors to the elder apostles and the elder bishops of Great Millstone. Peace and blessings to the 144,000, as well as to the rest of the hopeful elect out there. This is your brother, the priest, Desire from GMS Atlanta, back with another edifying video. And this will be more on the coming digital system, which is the lead up to the MOTB, the Mark of the Beast. And as you should know, the mark in Revelation 13:16 that that the beast will mandate and cause everyone to take is a microchip implant. Okay, GMS is 100% correct when it comes to the prophecy of the mark, the MOTB. And this digital ID system, or this digital shift, is just the infrastructure being set up and the precursor of what's to come. We are living in a time of heavy prophecy right now. So it says Spain's digital transformation ministry backs Sybil with 500 euros. So it says a Spanish digital transformation agency is helping to fund digital identity development and verifiable credentials. The Spanish Society for Technological Transformation, an agency under the Ministry for Digital Transformation and Public Administration, has invested 500,000 euros, US 573,000, in Sybilid identity. So this is just the beginning of what's to come. Everything is going digital. Okay, everything is shifting over and going over to this new system. And as I mentioned before, that's why they have this war going on in the Middle East, because it creates chaos. It creates a reason to crash the markets, change the world, the global economy, and say, listen, we need a solution. All right, so we need to get everybody on board with the digital ID system. And then as things continue to worsen, they're going to say, listen, now we have to inject everybody with the micro C-hip, which is the mark, the MOTB. Okay, so this is just Spain. All right, so now let me go here, because I've been going to a lot of these different countries and places around the world that are setting this system up. So it says CBP moves to modernize fingerprinting at national scale. All right, and this is out of the U.S. All right, out of Babylon the Great. U.S. Customs and Border Protection is preparing to hire a single contractor to run a nationwide electronic fingerprinting program. The next step will be the chip. All right, the mark is coming. It says that supports hiring, security vetting, and related personnel needs across the agency. And so they're doing it in U.S. Customs and Border, this agency, so it's going to spread across these different governmental departments. And like the Apostle Hall always says, they're going to push the MOTB by classes. Military, those that work for the government, on down to the people. Okay? Let me read this down. It says the contractor will be responsible for fingerprinting services of all CBP employees, contractors, consultants, and applicants who must undergo fingerprinting as part of a routine background investigation. CBP is looking for a company that can manage the whole process from beginning to end. That means providing fingerprint collection sites, train staff, the computer equipment used at those sites, the scheduling system, the electronic transmission of the prints, and a web-based tracking and reporting system that CBP personnel can access remotely. So, hey, everything's going digital. Everything is the lead up to the mark, man. So if they're doing this in one government agency, they're going to do this in the rest. All right? That's why we've been warning you for years, for decades, that the mark is coming. All right? The MOTB is coming, which will be an implantable device under the skin. All right? We mentioned at the camp yesterday about these other Israelite groups. They're not going into the prophecies. They're definitely not preaching the mark of the beast the correct way. ISUBK, IUIC, others. Okay? They rather, and that's another video for another time about these other groups and what they're talking about. Meanwhile, GMS, we're sticking to the scriptures. Great Millstone, we're sticking to the scriptures here. All right? Making the hopeful elect aware of what's going on. So the next step, like I said, is a chip. So what, you got Spain, the US. Let me go here. So it says here, your phone could replace the ballot box. Biometrics, blockchain, and the future of democracy. Everything is going to be on an AI digital biometric system. Are you Israelites paying attention to what's going on, or you just watching videos for entertainment? Now the gas prices is going up, and the talks about the war. Now y'all want to get serious. We told you this was coming. Some of you know, but the majority of those that know the Israel are fucking around, man. Now you got to pay more at the pump. It's $1, so what more? Get over it. Shit ain't got real just yet. They about to change this whole system over, man. Are y'all seeing the bigger picture? Let me read this. It says voter turnout in the... Oh, and by the way, we're in the time for midterms, right? They're going to start doing the midterm voting. So it says voter turnout in the United States consistently hovers around 50 to 65% in presidential elections, and far lower in midterms and local races. We accept this as normal. But imagine if you could vote the same way you unlock your iPhone or approve a bank transfer. Yeah, they want you to just vote, remotely. That's why the controversy about the voting and the mail-in, that's why and the fraud. That's all a tactic to get the people talking so they can change and shift over to the mark, man. And I knew that back then. It says with your face or fingerprint, that future is closer than most people think. And the legal and regulatory framework we build around biometrics today will determine whether we get there. What does biometrics mean? Bio meaning body, metric meaning to measure, right? To measure how the body, to measure the body against technology, with technology. It says the tech stack already exists. 3 technologies are converging to make smartphone-based voting a real possibility. Biometric authentication, blockchain, and the modern smartphone. Your phone already contains a fingerprint reader. That's why they put it in there, about a decade or so ago, maybe more. You can unlock your phone with your face. You can unlock your phone with your fingerprint. They did away with all the buttons, and you just got a screen. It's called gradualism. They've been shifting things over, and a lot of you heard about this, but some of you are still in the dark. So you got to understand what this system is doing. What Esau is doing is leading everybody into a digital slave system. Everything will be tracked and monitored, and they will control you. It says your phone already contains a fingerprint reader, a high-resolution camera capable of facial recognition, and enough processing power to run encrypted transactions. Hey, buying and selling, right? Hold on, let me get that scripture. I ain't got a scripture yet. The mark in this digital system will be tied to buying and selling, business and making transactions. Revelation 13 and 16. And he causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. And they're definitely about to push the brain chip, which is the forehead mark, and then they're going to push the mark in the hand. They're going to go from transitioning from smartphones and fingerprints and that to putting the device in your hand. All right, the technology is already there. It says, here's a point, and that no man might buy or sell. That's your transactions. If you want to make transactions, you got to be tied to the digital system. It says, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. That's the tied to the system. Ultimately, you're going to need the mark, which is the chip in the body. So, and this is what we speak on this topic to ad nauseum, as the Apostle Paul likes to bring out. It's redundant. We're constantly bringing this topic up because it's relevant to what's going on. Yeah, we in World War III, but the destruction and the end of this world is not going to happen until they introduce the MOTB. That has to be mandated first. Okay? So, let's go here. It says your phone already contains a fingerprint reader, a high-resolution camera capable of facial recognition, and enough processing power to run encrypted transactions. What has been missing is a trusted legal and technical framework, and that's what they're doing. They're setting up the right paperwork, the legality, the laws, and everything. They're setting that up. All right, they're setting that up, and they're putting in the infrastructure around the world so everything will be something called interoperable, operate and interconnect globally from one country to the next, with you using the mark, starting with the digital ID and the biometrics. Companies like Voax have been quietly proving this out. Their platform combines hardware-based security, biometric identity verification, a live selfie match against a government-issued photo ID, and a blockchain ledger to create a tamper-evident auditable vote record. As of late 2025, Voax has served more than 5 million voters across 150 elections in 8 countries. So they've been testing this out across 8 countries, was last certified in November 2025, and in 2018 became the first platform used for a mobile vote in U.S. federal election history. Okay, I didn't know that. It says the global blockchain voting market was valued at $290 million in 2024. See, they're putting money behind this, and is projected by industry analysts to reach $770 million by 2034. And when they introduce the mark, it'll be even more money, $1 billion. That's what we're going to be looking at, man. Okay, keep thinking that GMS and the different camps of GMS are just a bunch of tacky guys on the street corner. No, we're the prophets, man. I say that boldly, but humbly we're of the, I believe we are of the elect. Hopefully. We're just doing our job. I'm just doing my job, warning you and connecting the dots through the spirit and power of Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai. And I hope that this is helpful to those of you that believe in this truth. Okay? You read this here. It says India is leading example of digital infrastructure, IMF says. IMF is the International Monetary Fund. It says, are AI agents the next layer to be built on top of India's DPI? DPI is Digital Public Infrastructure. So India is one of the model countries for the MOTB system. It says digital public infrastructure is being recognized as a foundational public good, and a new paper from the International Monetary Fund, excuse me, argues it should be treated like traditional infrastructure. Because they want to go from this society that's using paper coins and currency and writing checks, and they want everything to go digital. They want everything to be cashless. The IMF believes, and so this is Esau, his IMF system. The IMF believes that systems like digital IDs, payment rails, and data exchange layers should be treated like roads or power grids. The authors cite India as a real-world case, and I went over this before some months back. India has been, for years, setting up digital currency and biometrics and using smartphones to pay for things and register their citizens. So India is up there with China when it comes to that. The authors cite India as a real-world case with the world's most populous country. That's why they're doing it, because it's what about a billion or more people in China? I'm sorry, India. China and India are heavily populated. So if they want to control the population and they want to understand how their global New World Order system is going to work when they get it, when I'm talking about Esau, when Esau mandates everyone to get the MOTB, they want to do it in them countries that have a lot of people. It says, with the world's most populous country scaffolded by DPI. India is where Aadhaar, UPI, DigiLocker, and ONDC have collectively demonstrated how digital infrastructure, when built as shared, reusable rails, can reshape an entire economy. So that's what they want to do. They craft these currencies and the actual the global economy now through the war, and then all these economies will be shifted and changed over, like India, social credit system like China, all right, biometrics and digital IDs. That's what they're doing. That's what they're doing. So this is the future. It says here, despite, okay, so you got dozens, it says dozens of national ID systems, payment platforms and data exchanges worldwide. Yeah, it's worldwide. Worldwide. Okay? So the next major prophecy to come to pass is the MOTB. Believe you me. Believe in Yahweh Shema Shai and his prophets. Okay, hold on. Let me go to the next one here. It says South Africa establishes fully digitalized ID issuance system in local banks. It's all around the world, like I just read. As I've been going into. I'll just read this here. It says South Africa's Department of Home Affairs has announced that smart ID cards can now be obtained directly from many banks. Who's in control of the banks and the central banking system? The Edomites, Esau, the small hats, the international banking families. Okay? Rothschilds, Rockefellers, DuPonts, Gettys, Lees, Onassis, Oppenheimers, all these different families. They're in control. It says they can now be obtained. It says smart ID cards can now be obtained directly from many banks under a new digital partnership model. The first phase of the process has already gone live at many branches of concerned banks. The department disclosed in a recent government announcement 9 South African banks are involved in the initiative at the moment. The MOTB is coming, man. Okay, this is how close we are. All right. Let me get one more here. Oh, and you notice these countries are Spain, India, South Africa, right? Those countries are a part of BRICS. And then you got the U.S. system, and then you got Sweden here. It says Sweden to launch government EID in December 2026. alternative to popular bank ID, there's the banks again, for citizens and foreign residents. And then Sweden and the U.S. are a part of the beast. This is a global initiative. This whole war in the Middle East is they're all in on it. They're all doing this. I mean, the Lord is going to use it to bring about the battle of Armageddon to destroy these nations. But even World War III that's going on right now is a part of their New World Order agenda. Also, they can usher in worldwide the MOTB. Okay? Let me read this here. It says, Sweden has announced that its electronic identity, EID, will be launched on December 1st, 2026, giving both Swedish citizens and foreign residents a government alternative to the popular Bank ID, a digital identity service developed by Swedish banks. And I believe, hold on, let me look this up. Let me see. Implants. I believe it's Sweden. Sweden, they're already using the mark voluntarily. Yeah, here we go. It says over 30,000 people in Sweden have voluntarily adopted or are using grain of rice microchip implants, NFC technology, in their hands to replace physical items like keys, gym passes, train tickets, and in some cases credit cards. What do you use a credit card for? To buy, to purchase items, to make transactions, right? That's buying and selling. So this is Revelation 13 and 16. This is that technology. This is the mark. So this is it, man. So what is Sweden doing? And it only costs $180. Thousands of Swedes. This is from 2018. October 22nd, 2018. Thousands of Swedes are inserting, you see it here, right? The micro C-hips under their skin. The procedure cost about $180. So many Swedes are lining up to get the listen to this. So many Swedes are lining up that the country's main shipping company says it can't keep up. This was back in 2018. So imagine what is going to be when they introduce this system. It says, the popular Bank ID, a digital identity service developed by Swedish banks. The Sverige ID will allow users to identify themselves, share information, and provide e-signatures. Sweden, as far as the beast system out of Europe is concerned, you got America, you got NATO, all these nations included, right? Which the UK broke off from the EU, but they're still a part of NATO. Sweden is the model country for that system, the beast, just like China and India, as I just went into before. That's the model country for the BRIC system. And then they're going to merge it all together. That's Esau's plan, to make this a global digital biometric society where they can track, control everything and everybody. It says the Sverige ID will allow users to identify themselves, share information, and provide e-signatures. The EID will allow access to other EU countries' digital services. That's that interoperability I was talking about. The government announced on Tuesday. So this is from last week, a few days ago. So we're in that time, man. We're definitely in the time of Revelation 13 and 16 come to pass. All right? So, with that, I'm close this lesson out. Hope it was edifying. All praises, glory, and honors goes unto Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua B'Shem Chakwadash. Continue to watch, continue to pray. Don't take the mark, the MOTB, the chip when it's mandated. When it comes, don't take it. We're almost out of here, man. World War III is ramping up. And soon our Savior, Yahweh Shai, will deliver his elect. So to all you brothers and sisters that believe, peace to you. Shalom.